All right, let's bring in South Carolina Congressman Ralph Norman, one of the lawmakers who pushed with the Twitter hashtag release the memo for the release of the memo. Good to see you, sir. Who knew that you'd be a social media master? President on Twitter this morning saying that this vindicates him. You willing to go that far?
You know, I think what's great about this is that it's being released. And Leland, let me say this. The Democrat memo, which we didn't have at the time that we read the memo by the Republican committee, we're going to read that when we get back to Washington. But I'm all for letting the Democrat memo come out, let the public compare what is being presented. And we have got to do that for the sake of the integrity of the Department of Justice and the FBI, which should set the gold standard. But the president's right.
I'm going to take it as a no that you don't view that this is full vindication for the president. You're more in the Lindsey Graham and Speaker Ryan camp on that.
Well, no, I think let the facts carry it where they are. I think the president was right to release, and I think the president wants the facts out there. And for what I understand, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is 10% of the information that will be released. To be honest with you, I'm surprised that it was classified in the first place.
Well, it did seem, when you read it, the hype about this memo, that this was going to be worse than Watergate and prove all of these things, and then it came out and it seemed pretty bland. The talking points on both sides didn't really materialize. From the Democratic side, who said that this was going to be a grave threat to national security, you read the memo and nobody came away saying, wow, this has really impacted American national security. Is there a danger for Republicans in overhyping this when you say this is just the tip of the iceberg?
No, I think when you have people being paid by the Democratic National Committee, by the Hillary campaign, influencing members of the FBI to make calls on that, I think it's very serious. So I think it is different. I think the Watergate break-in was a two-bit break-in of a headquarters. This touches the upper echelons of our Department of Justice, of our FBI, and that's a big deal, and it should be.
Well,
and I think
there's the Watergate break-in, then there's the Watergate cover-up. We won't get into a compare and contrast, a history lesson. For no other reason than I'm probably not qualified enough to do it. But I want to understand going forward how you look at this. Where does the accountability end in your mind? So few people, even Devin Nunes, isn't able to read these FISA warrants. So few people are actually privy to this intelligence and to the raw data. We're just expected to believe what we're being told by both sides. Everybody has to say, believe me.
Yeah, and you can't lose the trust of the believe me. You've got to have the confidence that, again, the FBI is not partisan. And when they take information that is beyond the shadow of a doubt driven by the hatred of a man, I think it's wrong. And I think it's great that it's coming out. And let the public decide. It's not hard, as an example, to get the checks that were cashed to pay these different people. And you expect a greater sense of awareness and a fairness than the FBI to pass on this.
Well, as you point out, for so long, the trust of the FBI has been sacrosanct, and really never before has the FBI been attacked. Even during Watergate, other Republicans wouldn't go after the FBI as the Bureau got closer and closer to the president himself and their investigation. You made a good point about the public making the final decision and being the arbiter of truth. When you're back in your district, you're traveling through South Carolina, are people talking about this memo? Have they lost confidence in the FBI, or is this something just all of us in Washington love to bloviate about?
Well, I think for the most part, the press has been, other than the Fox News network, the others, it's embarrassing to see the other networks, their effort to discredit this. Let the facts be as they may. All I ask the people in my 5th Congressional District, look at it, pay attention to it. You verified. In both memos, I'm all for the Democratic memo getting out there. Let's compare it. Let's see if it stands a test of light, which is a disinfectant for all of us. And if the FBI officials are at fault, they ought to be held accountable, and they should be. They're taking our tax dollars.
Well, they're taking our tax dollars, and they have the right, as we've seen, to have enormous power. Hogan Gidley from the White House also made the point about looking at releasing the Democratic memo. You have as well. We'll see if Republicans get behind releasing the Democratic memo as much as they did their own. We appreciate you being here, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Great conversation. And as we have proven,